I'm just going to jump right into things. So, anybody watching who doesn't know me, my name is Chelsea. I am a Chinese medicine practitioner currently studying functional medicine, and I help people heal all kinds of health and wellness issues so they can heal issues from the root and really cultivate optimal and abundant health so they can feel amazing, enjoy life in a healthy body, and create sustainable results that last into the future for long-term longevity and health. So I have my friend and client here, Ellie, who we worked together about a year and a half ago, about a year and a half ago now, summer of 2023. And Ellie, I wanted to have you on today to talk about your health and wellness journey because when we first started working together, one of your goals was to have a baby, and you're a few weeks away now. Fast forward to having a baby. So, thanks so much for coming on and being here today. So, I'd love to hear from you just to start um, about your original intentions coming in to work with me and work on your health. We had known each other because I was a client of yours, and then you decided to come on my side of things and work on some menstrual self-fertility stuff. So, what were your original intentions, and what was that work like for you, and how did fertility fit into your long-term goals at that time?
Yeah. Thank you for having me, love. This is great.
Mhm.
Um, so when I started working with you, I mean, I had worked with a lot of people prior to working with you. I'd hired some people specifically for like the nutritional piece of really it was like I mean, you teach and we now know that like your period has a lot to do with like your overall health, right? And just it's like a mirror of how you're really doing in a lot of ways. And I had struggled with painful periods and um yeah, really just like painful periods that at times would just feel like they took over my life for a few days and I couldn't get out of bed. And I think it just had a very strong emotional charge. And it kind of felt, yeah, just like a lot of areas of my life were working, but that area I was really struggling with. And so, yeah, I'd worked with a lot of people. I'd worked with some acupuncturist around it. I had hired like a nutritional coach around it prior. I had um taken like a program. Like I definitely did the work like
Mhm.
prior to working with you, and yet it still felt like I was missing something. So as you were my client telling me about different things and you're like, yeah, this is all this success and different things, I just like kept being like, I should probably hire her at some point. um, and so yeah, so the intention to come in was to like help my my period and my cycle, and we did that, and also for optimal fertility because I knew that like um, yeah, like my husband and I just gotten engaged, and I knew that we like there's a timeline you want to just like prep for it, and so yeah, that was the intention, both like to go into baby making and creation with as much health and fertility and like ease as possible, and to heal my painful periods that were really happening for like my entire like I don't know, like almost my entire life, like from like 13 to 12 years old, which is crazy that I'd been bleeding for that long. And I think I mean I can talk about so many things that you really helped me with, but one of the main things is shifting my like emotional relationship with my period, where it wasn't this like dun 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 like like doom and gloom. It was more like, oh my gosh, what an amazing thing that I get to do. Like I get to bleed, I get to have my period, and it's a sign of health and fertility and like wonderfulness. And so I think emotionally just changing my relationship with it was huge for me.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many layers to that of the just the history and the conditioning of what it means to have your period. And and for so many women, that's really ingrained at such a young age of like, this is just kind of this thing and it sucks and you just kind of deal with it. And that's really illustrated in so many women's experiences. And you're so right. That was a big piece of that emotional charge because, you spend however many years sort of gearing up for that pain to come, and how do you let go of that and write a new story. So I love so much your experience of prepping for fertility, if you will, and something I have my notes from our first call here together, and something that you shared that always stuck with me for some reason was you rated like your overall health was 9 out of 10. Like there wasn't like this long laundry list of all these other things. It really was like this felt, we know it's not isolated, but it felt isolated to menstruation, and you rated how your menstrual health felt at 4 out of 10. So there's like a big disconnect between your overall, the rest of the time of your cycle and the days that you were bleeding. And for women who have similar presentations to you, where their main problem is the period pain, I probably said this to you at some point. There's this almost like amnesic experience that happens. It's like you get your period and it's, oh, this is like the worst thing in the world. I got to do something about this. And then it's over and you sort of have like the next 3-ish plus weeks to not have to think about it. And it's like out of your mind, and then it happens again. And so many women get caught in that cycle because life and all the things. So you did a great job of, stepping over that. And another reason why I love the intentionality you had of like prepping for the future is so often in fertility and in other areas of health in like our culture, especially in our culture of medicine, we really wait until there is a problem to really take action around something. And who's to say, what your journey would have been with your fertility now or anytime, but it's how beautiful to have been so proactive about it um, and not wait until, there's a problem. So many women that come to me for help with fertility, they do have symptoms like menstrual pain or regular cycles or all kinds of issues. And unfortunately, in our health system, when someone's presenting with infertility, whether it's known or unknown, and they go to like a fertility center, those issues are not addressed and they sort of just like go straight to trying to create a pregnancy. And my wish for women all over is to know that there are solutions to their problems, of course. So thank you for being here and sharing your version of that. So I have a couple questions for you. So between the time that we worked together and when you started to start trying, what what were some of the like fears or anxieties you had around potentially conceiving or just thinking about, like what your fertility experience was going to be like and kind of how you related to the sense of like there being something wrong, and how did you just kind of deal with that and overcome that and see it for what it was, which is just fear and anxiety.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I think as we healed my cycle and as you helped me heal my cycle, like I started trusting my body more and trusting yeah, just like trusting that it was working as it needed to, as it should, as it was naturally created to do. And so I think we did a lot of different things that over time, and I know that I even hired you like after we worked together one on one for a little bit to look at us, a few things. And um, yeah, it's just like I feel like a lot of it was really simple things that made all the difference. And yeah, ultimately, like we got pregnant right away, and like I don't know if I'm like, jumping ahead here, but like a lot of people don't, and I just feel so grateful for the work we did together because it really prepped me so well. And I think it prepped my body. Like my body was just like so ready and like fertile and like, okay, let's go, and even the timing of it, like, we had talked about, after your period's complete, like the optimal days and times to actually get pregnant, because that's like biology. You can't get pregnant necessarily throughout the whole cycle. I mean, there are miracles and things that happen for people, but like, it's like a finite amount of time. So I think there was the nutritional element that we really dove into, that I think, like eating for my cycle, which ultimately was like eating for fertility, right? Like eating like for different times of my cycle, that I think created the optimal environment for baby to come in. Um, and yeah, and just like the practicalness of, we're gonna have sex on these days, and we're gonna try and conceive at this and this time, um and like, yeah, just like ownership of my own body, and like understanding how it works, and feeling really empowered around that, which I still feel in so many ways. And I've taken everything we've learned and like brought it into pregnancy, and like pregnancy has felt, I wouldn't say like it's like like no problems at all, like completely easeful, because it's still like, I mean, like my belly, like it's a belly, like it's a big
Yes.
belly,
Wow.
like I'm
Uh-huh.
I'm carrying like 30 pounds, which is totally normal. Like you want to like gain weight while you're pregnant, but
Mhm.
like um but I would say like I didn't like vomit like for the whole first trimester. Like my protein intake's been great. Like all of these pieces that we worked on again for my cycle, like I basically took that into pregnancy, and have had, like, I would say, a fairly smooth, healthy, vibrant, like, pregnancy, And so, yeah, sure, there's a few things that came up, but like, again, this like deep trust in my body, um yeah, that I think our work helped me really cultivate, yeah, I've really taken with me. And we're doing a home birth, which I think, yeah, like there's just like a lot here that I think you helped me find trust within myself to know that like I can do this, and like feel really empowered around it.
Mhm. I love that. I love the sense of empowerment and sovereignty, and how going into being pregnant, if already feeling so healthy and vibrant, like that was able to really color, your experience being pregnant. And that's definitely, a big, something that's missing from, I think, a lot of women's experience. And we see so many issues, like people go into being pregnant having all kinds of issues with their period, and that does, like, we know, right, doesn't go anywhere. And of course, not everything's perfect, and sometimes pregnancies are unpredictable, but ideally, we would enter into pregnancy as healthy as possible, so we can have the best possible experience, pregnant and postpartum as well. Um, so you sort of answered some of this, but what was your experience conceiving, and like what was the timeline like, and how did you feel about it, and what were you expecting? And
Yeah, I think there was certainly like some anxiousness, which I think is normal and okay. And it's just like, I think it's more a part of, okay, you're entering into a new phase of life, and you're making a very clear decision, and it's yeah, so I think that's okay. But I also feel like I prepped like spiritually. Like I had a friend, like we did some work together, and she wrote me like a poem about like becoming a mom and ushering like this new soul into the world. So I feel like I prepped both like spiritually and very like nutritionally and holistically with you. And so I feel like I had all of these different like elements of support. And I think, yeah, I think I don't realize until I talk to people, and this isn't a judgment at all. This is just like we all have our priorities, but I don't think I realized how much I actually did to prep till I talked to people who are maybe trying to conceive and are having a hard time. And like, I'm like, yo, just do a few things, hire Chelsea, like, and of course there's things that are beyond, like, that
Mhm.
are, really, really challenging, and I don't want to minimize people's challenges with getting pregnant. I know that it's really, really hard for some people, but also like I think there can be, yeah, there can be a attachment to things being hard, and there can be an attachment to like, yeah, to suffering almost around this stuff. And I think, sure, sometimes it does require like more westernized medical intervention, but I think a lot of times it doesn't, and it just requires a more holistic approach of really looking at your life. And that's why I think it's like the work that you do and the work that we did together, like it's so important, because it's actually on some level quite simple, but you do need a guide because we've come so far from the natural wisdom of our body and what it's innately here to do. And like, yeah, and I think that really starts from like your period and looking at that, and then like the fertility piece. So yeah, I mean, like when we found out, like, 2 to 3 weeks after, whatever timeline it was, I think we've actually found out on May, I don't know, sometime in May. It was like, yeah, it was a dream come true. And I was like, I don't know if, the first time I took it, I think I took it a little early because I was excited. And James was like, well, you still might be pregnant. I'm like, no, maybe not, blah, blah, blah. And then like 2 or 3 days later, I took the test again. And yeah, like easeful, done, like pregnant. And um, yeah, like even prior to that, we'd already talked to like a midwife that we researched. So I'm typically like very spontaneous around things in life. And like, I'm like, oh, we'll figure it out. But the intentionality of really looking at prepping for conception and fertility and all of that, like I did the work,
Mhm.
I did the work. And I think that's one of the reasons why it worked.
Absolutely. Yeah, you just nailed all that just perfectly. And you know I'm all about simple, so I love to hear you highlight that. And I love that you ended with talking about how you did the work because simple doesn't always mean easy. Like those things aren't always synonymous. But it is simple, like most health things are, and so many of us, and that's just the world that we live in. It's designed for to be confusing and feel like it's this like big mysterious thing and there's all these things wrong, and like you illustrated so well, sometimes there are things that are like inherently wrong, or like something that needs like some sort of intervention and support. But more often than not, there are all of these things that the individual themselves can do to provide the environment for what they're wanting to create. So, well, yeah, what a beautiful journey. And I love all the intentionality. It must just feel so powerful for you. Hmm.
Mm,
Hmm.
it really does, because it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, I mean, even this morning, like not to get like too deep into it, but at like the 30, in like your later 30s, not like age wise, but like pregnancy weeks wise, they test for something called GBS, which is like a bacteria essentially that if you have in your, um, in that whole area can impact baby. And I tested negative for it, which is really good because if you test positive for it, they might put you on antibiotics, blah, blah, blah. You can always, of course, opt out of things, but like, I mean, I was going to opt out of it. Anyway, short story is I don't have it. I'm negative for it. But like, yeah, I've been taking my probiotics. I've been doing the sauerkraut. I've been doing the yogurts. I've been doing all these things to support not just taking the probiotics that are specific for pregnancy, but also all the work that we did together with probiotics.
Hmm.
And I test negative for it. So not to say that other women who test positive for it aren't doing those things, but yeah, like I would say if you're struggling, like get really honest with yourself. Are you doing what you can to really support yourself here? You know, are
Mhm.
you really taking the steps? And I didn't know all of this. I feel like I learned it from you. I learned it from yeah, different sources and stuff. And it's like we don't have to actually go through this alone. Like, why would we expect ourselves to know all the things
Mhm.
to do?
Mhm.
You know, and so I think that's why it's just so useful to have like a team, whether it be
Mhm.
you or listening to podcasts or whatever. I mean, obviously, I'm a big fan of your work, and
Mhm.
I will shout out from the rooftops that I think you change women's lives in such beautiful ways, and yeah, I think it's really important to just look at what you're doing and it's essentially like you're starting to love your baby by loving yourself earlier
Mhm.
on. Like that is the direct line of loving your baby is loving your own body, loving your own health, taking care of your own health first. That's number one so that you can
Mhm.
actually have a healthy pregnancy and baby.
Yeah, absolutely. And falling in love with the journey itself and allowing it to be joyful and finding the joy in just being healthy and taking care of yourselves. And so often there's this like it's either like you're healthy and it's like regimented and like da da da, or like you're fun loving and don't care. But those couldn't be any further from the truth. Like you get to have both and it gets to be really feel really good and be really abundant and um yeah, being healthy feels good and being on that journey, it's hard to describe almost, but um you made a really great point around having support because not because like you don't have the inner knowing yourself, but because we are so disconnected from just nature and sort of like the natural way of things. And we've become so disconnected so quickly too. It's only been, decades that we've been living in this paradigm of medicine and health and women's health and even like not too far back in our own like generations like birth looked a lot different and now we're seeing a wave of things looking a little bit more holistic and like traditional if you will but I always love to highlight that it's not coming from a place of like, oh, you need somebody or you need somebody like me to help you. It's about like supporting you so that you can be empowered in everything, all areas of life and health. It's really just kind of, yeah, providing the environment for the individual to tap into their own inner knowing. And like you highlighted the trust piece as well. hmm And and coming from a place of I think around so many things in health, but particularly pregnancy, and of course I understand why. There's so much fear, and we know through so many lenses like what fear does to the body and to the psyche, and it's just not the way we want to lead and the lens that we want to look through. So how do we? And the opposite of fear, I guess, is trust, right? So leading into that. So what do you feel your husband's role played in conception and like his health and what did you guys do to prepare for that and how do you feel if how that played a role in the timeline and kind of just the nature of things and the ease of things?
I mean, James is amazing. I mean, I know he had like a session with you. I was like, maybe just, have a session with Chelsea. Maybe just let's just do a few things, just to see what we can optimize. So he did that. So that was great. And I think also the prep with like us working on my cycle and my period for, however long we did before conception, um, I think it really created an appreciation that he had for, yeah, just like the intentionality and the work that I did to prep for it. He also, though, I will say, has never been worried. Like the worry has mostly come from me. Like he's always been like, we're not gonna have any challenges. And I'm like, no, like I can run anxious at times. And I've very much learned how to regulate that in beautiful ways. And he's just been a rock where he really yeah, was just like, we got this. Like no,
Hmm.
no problem. So I think having him be grounded around it. And I mean, we're dorks. Like we're both like taking our heart and soil supplements every morning. We're taking our collagen. Like we're just like certified health freaks, and like in like into it,
Yeah.
like yeah, not in a bad way, but like and when I know we've had we came over to your house once, and you cooked for us, which was amazing. And I think yeah, like you and your partner is such a beautiful testament of health, that like, yeah, we're just like, we just like, we love that. Like we have loved becoming those people. And I'm sure that'll continue with like how we feed our baby, and like what
Hmm.
we do with our baby and all of that, and just being very intentional about it. So yeah, he's basically been amazing. And um yeah, so
Hmm.
I'm just really, really grateful for that, because I think that makes a huge difference, obviously, when you have a partner who's on board. Um, yeah, but not to say that these past, like, however many months, I'm getting close to giving birth, we'll see in the next, who knows, 2 weeks, month, the timeline
Hmm.
is interesting. I mean, there's definitely been initiations of like, of pregnancy that we've gone through, but they've all been so beautiful. And um, yeah, like I really believe that hiring support, like people like you, and having a team, having an amazing midwife and all of that, like we just feel like a circle of love that's just like guiding us and supporting us. Yeah, so that makes a huge difference
Hmm.
if you could get your partner on board. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys make a great team.
Thank you.
And yeah, so often, we forget that, conception, it takes two people. So it's so much around like birth control and fertility and pregnancy. It's all about the woman, but the man plays a huge role in that. So I love to talk about that and highlight that, and invite more people to engage in that, 50-50 conversation around it. So that's really great. And I love how you said, the the involvement in your menstrual cycle paved the path for that, and had colored your guys' experience into that next phase of life. Mhm.
Definitely.
And what you're describing too, of how you guys are, you love becoming that people. I love that so much because, I'm all about, like being the medicine. And when you make your life your medicine, that's you can never really be unwell, right? And when being healthy is who you are, it's not something that you always have to be doing. It's just part of who you are. And that's just where it's at. That's what I want for everybody. Okay. So, we've touched on this in a couple different ways, but specifically, how do you feel the role of the work that you did for the months, leading up to conception has played a role in just the overall health of your pregnancy and just your personal experience? And
More specifically, like I think the food piece was huge. Like, um, I know that I think like a cycle or two before conception, I did like a little um I think you introduced me to some fasting appropriate for your cycle. I always like make sure that I create that caveat, because I think that's very important. So, you taught me how to fast appropriately for my body, which I think really helped. So nutritionally, protein, red meats, like, some of the supplements that, you had helped me with, some of the herbs, like all of these pieces, I think made a huge difference, huge difference. I think it also, yeah, I think it it's like you helped me and I helped myself treat my body like a true vessel of just like love, you know, when you treat it that way with all of these different pieces that we worked on together. Yeah, I think I mean I don't I think you were like you'll be great, Ellie. I think you were like you know you're not gonna have a challenge, you know, and um yeah, that I really just felt like yeah, there's an element of my again that trust with my body, like feeding it well in so many ways and taking care of it. Yeah, just like through nutrition, through fasting, through supplementation. Um, yeah, I think that was the main thing leading up to it that made the biggest difference. Um, so there'll be people that I'll speak with, and I kind of want to go into it right away and be like, just do these few things, but like everyone's on their journey, you know, and they
Hmm.
probably need to talk to you, you know,
Hmm.
and um, yeah, I think I think trying to figure it out alone is kind of insane because you know, why like there's no other area of life which is like yeah, it's like so important. Like give yourself the support, you know, really
Hmm.
give yourself the support. You know, and every time we go to our midwife appointment, she's like, you have like such great blood pressure. She's like, it's so, and I'm like, yay. So James makes fun of me because he's like, you're a little bit like, you want to be a straight A student here. And he's right, but like what better is there anything more important to be intentional about?
Hmm.
No. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And when you have your health, you really have everything else. And I really try to drive that point home because we live in a world of like a false sense of convenience and you can kind of just like get by. But, we all know when you're sick, when you got the flu or whatever, you're out. And it gives you that perspective. So, zooming out and seeing that when you have your health. Um, if you can bring focus there, then so much space opens up for everything else. And so often it's seen as like, I don't have time for that, or it's to this or it's to that, but really it's everything. Hmm. Hmm. Um, and you said something really great that I wanted to follow up on, but it slipped my mind, but it'll come back to me. Okay. So what message? Oh, I remembered. We were talking about how like doing things alone and versus having support. And it's also just so confusing out there. And there's so much polarizing information. And I find that like one of the biggest things that I love that I get to do for people is just simplify things for them and say like here's what you're doing isn't working for you specifically, and here's a clear path forward of what's going to work for your body, for the stage of life that you're in, for where you're at with food. And people come into things with all different kinds of backgrounds. Like some people are more emotional around food or sleep or exercise, or like for whatever reason, especially for women, things are so nuanced. And we know that most things are seen in health through the lens of men's health, but women are such nuanced creatures. And yeah, people just have all different kinds of constitutions. So most people, like when I work with them and we do set that path forward, they also feel like, wow, this is actually so simple. So if we can just kind of drown out the noise and have that clearness and just drown out like the polarity and the sensationalism of the internet and like nutrition and all these things. It's so loud. Um, all we just really all of us need to just bring things back to the basics, really. And so often too, when people are on a health journey, um, because there's so much information, which is great, books and social media. I love to learn about things, and I don't have to be an expert on everything to like learn or want to know some specific piece of information. But generally, people, when they have an issue, especially like a chronic issue or multiple chronic issues, what they really need is to come to the basics, like the pillars of health, and then build on that. But so often, people kind of jump 10 steps ahead and try to do like like yoni steams when they really need to just like drink different water, you know what I mean? Which like yoni steams are great. It's not that it's just about like that's not like healing like the root cause of something that's being caused by dehydration, just an example. So I love all that. Uh,
You're making me laugh because I literally tried yoni steaming like maybe like 5 years ago, like in my apartment in Brooklyn. James and I were together at that time too, um he was supportive of that. So I feel like he's seen me like try so many things for my
mhm.
period where
Uh-huh.
yeah, you're like, let's just drink like spring water. Like and eat, eat some more red meat because there's a little bit of iron deficiency probably. And like just a few like simple tweaks that we did
Mhm.
together, I feel like made all the difference. Like literally, just like,
Mhm.
and that not this past Christmas, but like the one before where I think where we were working together, that was like the first holiday season where I didn't get sick for like the first time.
Amazing.
For because I feel like that was like always like on like
Hmm.
repeat. Like there's the holidays, you get sick, blah 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 blah, and like
Hmm.
at that time I was like, no, like that's not happening. Like I'm working with Chelsea right now. Like this just does not need to be part of the story. And it was great, and I think it's just the things we did together again
Hmm.
that were simple but like deeply profound.
Yes. I love amazing. Beautiful. So, what message do you have, Ellie, for women who are having chronic period pain or just maybe issues with their menstrual cycle, or women struggling to conceive, or women who are having issues with their period and know that they want to conceive someday, or people who don't have any issues at all but just know that they want to conceive? What's just your general message in the world of fertility and menstrual health?
Totally. Like, number one, your body is meant to thrive. Your body is meant to like work and support you and love you. And like, your body just wants the best for you. And the best thing you can do is become a partner with your body and like love on it because it's always your intention and your heart and your energy goes first. And then like your body will follow and hire support, hire Chelsea, hire people that are here to support you in that mission for yourself. I think it's not only a gift again to yourself, it's a gift to your future baby, it's a gift to your current family, it's a gift to your future self. And it gets to be one of the most beautiful journeys that you get to take a lot of pride in. Like, I take a lot of pride in my health, I take a lot of pride in how much work I've put into it. And yeah, like I mean, that's been my main focus this whole year is that. And love yourself enough to invest in this. Not again, not only for you, it impacts everyone around you when you do that.
Mhm. Beautiful. Yeah, when you have your health, you pour from an overflowing cup. So it's like, here's me, I'm abundant in my health, and you get to give to everybody that you love and just the world in general and people that you meet day to day. It's so true. And if imagine a world where we're all pouring from an overflowing cup, it just is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for being here, Ellie, and congratulations. And it's just such a pleasure to have had the chance to be connected with you in this way. And um, it's been really great today to reflect on that and to hear your reflection. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, lovely. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I love you. I love the work that we did together. I'm so grateful we're connected. And yeah, holistically, Sarah says Chelsea is the best. I agree.
Sarah is the best as well. Thanks,
Thank you.
Sarah. All right. Bye, Ellie. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thanks, everybody who tuned in.